Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Greatly appreciate it. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Scott. Today we're going to be taking a look at from Jim Beam Distillery. This is the Old Overholt 10-year cask strength rye whiskey. Let's talk a little bit about that today on the My Bourbon Journey Whiskey Review channel. All right, so this bad boy is coming in at 121 proof, mash bill undisclosed, as a lot of the Jim Beam stuff is, unfortunately. There's guesses on all of that, but undisclosed for the purpose of today's review. It is age stated as 10 years old, so that's really nice to get that style rye at 10 years old. MSRP on this is going to come in at right around $100. So let's dive into this today and see what kind of value this poses, and we'll see if this is worth the $100 price tag. So color-wise, you can see really kind of a nice, deep, rich, kind of like mahogany type of color, moving the whiskey around. Nice oil so far. Again, 121 proof. Not sure if this is non-chill filtered or anything along those lines, but again, I'm doubting it. Moving it around, nice oil so far on the glass. So let's go ahead and see what this one's going to give us on the nose. So my first impression is this really nice, spicy honey note. Right away, it's a very inviting nose. It smells deep, dark, rich. It has a lot of those kind of characteristics to it right away. A little bit of that kind of beam funkiness, maybe slight kind of peanut shell a little bit. Not overly dominant, but it is there. Light kind of clove note on that as well. A little bit of that herbal characteristic that it has, but again, it's much more of a deeper type of rye profile. I had done not long ago a review of the Little Book. It's interesting because these two ryes coming from, again, the same distillery have this really much different type of style profile. It's always interesting when you get rye whiskeys from or within the same distillery and how different they really can be. More of that rye is really starting to kind of come out. It is letting you know right away that it is a rye whiskey. So again, there is a little bit more of that rye bread, kind of rye grain type of profile, but with still some nice sweetness on it as well. I'm also picking up a little bit of this kind of like burnt orange that it has on it. Kind of comes back to early on getting a little bit more of that kind of a honey note or like a charred honey note, something like that. Spicy honey. A little bit more of that kind of black pepper, nice baking spices. Again, it's setting up for what feels like it's going to have a really nice kind of profile to it. You're getting a lot of those aged rye whiskey type of notes. Again, this is probably not a typical style rye. A lot of the ones that we're generally used to have much more of this kind of candied sweetness. This so far is a little bit more kind of rye driven, rye grain driven, I should say. So a little bit more aggressive. So just be aware or cognizant that this is not going to necessarily be so far just an upfront sweetness type of rye. Nice oak profile on it. Even picking up a little bit of this kind of apple note that it has. So really interested to kind of dive into this and see exactly what this one's going to give us on the palate. Cheers. Wow. So a lot of that rye herbal characteristic that I was picking up on the nose has now transferred over to what I'm getting on the palate. Nice little kind of heat that it has. Again, 121 proof, nice and spicy, good baking spices that it has on it so far. Little hints of some mint that's there, but again, I'm having a really hard time getting off of that really heavy kind of rye grain profile. I'll say this, I think Jim Beam is quickly developing this pattern for more of those aggressive type of ryes that they have. I got a lot of it in the Little Book, Chapter 8. I'm now picking it up in the Old Overholt 10-year cask strength. This seems to be a little bit more of their profile, more of that kind of aggressive, old style type of rye whiskey profile. Yeah, I'm gonna say there's a little bit of chocolate, again, more of that kind of baker's chocolate, a bittersweet type of chocolate that it has on it. It definitely felt that if there was the sweetness, there was more of that on the nose than there is on the palate. Again, a lot of that rye bread type of feel, grain, oak, nice spice, baker's chocolate, more of those deeper, darker type of profiles, more grain aggressive, I'll say on this one. So if you're expecting there to be a lot of sweetness on this, I would really kind of tamper your expectations on the sweet side of this. I would expect much more of that aggressive type of rye grain profile that it has so far on it. The proof is very nice on this. I think it coats the mouth really well. It does have, again, a good mouth feel, fairly oily. But again, just be aware that this is not going to be a sweeter style rye that, again, a lot of us are used to. Much more of that aggressive kind of rye profile that it has. So let's go ahead and give you my final thoughts. So first and foremost, I'm going to say you have to truly enjoy a rye whiskey profile. And to even take it a step further, I think you need to enjoy a more aggressive herbal rye whiskey type of profile in order to truly enjoy this one. This is not going to be a rye whiskey I think you want to just give to just about anybody, or definitely something that you're trying to introduce somebody to a rye whiskey. I think this comes with, or for, people who truly enjoy a more aggressive style rye whiskey, more grain forward, more of those heavier, rich, kind of East Coast style type of profile that this one has. So would I recommend something like this? I would say, again, you have to be more of an aggressive rye whiskey style enthusiast to, I think, truly enjoy something like this. Now, again, if you're a whiskey enthusiast and you just appreciate different profiles, perfect. This may be a great whiskey for you to kind of dive into. At $100, I think it's probably priced accordingly. So no issue with that whatsoever. Again, I would just be aware of the style of rye that this is. Again, I love everything about it. I just want you to understand the kind of aggressive nature that this rye whiskey has to it. So again, the Old Overholt 10-year cask strength rye whiskey. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to follow me, you can on Facebook and Instagram, those places at My Bourbon Journey. If you'd like to help support the channel and become part of the Mash and Journey Whiskey Club, make sure you check out the Patreon link in the description below. A lot of other great things down there for you as well. And with that, it's about the journey and not the destination. Cheers.